It has been over 6 months since the Second Lebanon War with Hezbollah, sparked by the unprovoked abduction of Israeli reserve soldiers Ehud Goldwasser and Eldad Regev. Today the IDF Chief of Staff joins former Northern Command Chief Udi Adam and Galilee Division Commander Gal Hirsch and tenders his resignation. While calls for Halutz's resignation have been reverberating throughout Israel for months, Halutz waited for over half a year before succumbing to public and political pressure, which he termed a witch hunt. Myriad probes into the IDF's performance during the war attributed the perceived failures, to a certain extent, to Halutz's poor leadership and command. Rather than wait 2 more weeks for the findings of the Winograd Committee of Inquiry, Halutz opted for resignation. Halutz and others in the military and government were widely criticized for bungling the 34-day war, which failed in its 2 major objectives, returning the 2 captured soldiers Udi Goldwasser and Eldad Regev to Israel, and destroying the Hezbollah stronghold in southern Lebanon. As it stands, both Regev and Goldwasser are still missing, and the Hezbollah combatants are still a force to be reckoned with on the northern border of Israel. With these factors in mind, Mr. Halutz decided to hand in his letter of resignation and could not be persuaded to reconsider, according to the Prime Minister Ehud Olmert. The Premier accepted his resignation with regret. The big question is who will replace Halutz in the IDF's top post. One prominent candidate is Major General Gabi Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi, former Deputy Chief of Staff, current Director General of the Ministry of Defense, with an illustrious career in the Ground Forces Golani Brigade, is a close associate of Defense Minister Amir Peretz and hence a favorite. Current Deputy Chief of Staff Moshe Kaplinsky, a favorite of Prime Minister Olmert, who in one of the war's many controversies was foisted upon the Northern Command to replace Chief Udi Adam, is the other natural candidate. However, there exists a third candidate who may, by way of compromise between Peretz and Olmert, receive the appointment. His name is Major General Benny Gantz. He is the current Land Forces commander, has an exemplary command record, and is unmarred by the findings of any probe into last summer's war. Regardless of who is chosen to fill Halutz's boots, the big question remains, who's next? Will the other 2 sides of the triangle, Olmert and Peretz, follow Halutz, take responsibility for what is widely perceived as widespread wartime failures, and resign? At the moment, both the public and Olmert are gunning for Peretz, whom Olmert would most likely want to see replaced by former Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Olmert is faring not much better, and has an extremely low public approval rating of 18%. Additionally, many high-ranking Israeli officials spanning the gamut of Israeli political life have called on Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert to resign. The Hezbollah has responded to the resignation, calling it a victory for itself, one that brings it closer to the reins of power in Lebanon, and proof of the Israeli leadership's weakness. However, the resignation can be seen conversely as a manifestation of the strength and robustness of the Israeli democracy. The Israeli public, many reserve soldiers who fought in the war, and to an extent, members of the General Staff and the Knesset, didn't want Halutz to continue leading the IDF during such a delicate period of rebuilding and preparation for the next war. Now their wish has been granted.